page. It's Heike with Heike's Furniture Art, and today we are going to work on this piece of furniture that I want to be looked or have a look of kind of an old world look. It's a very sweet piece. When I got it, it was sandblasted, and most probably a lot of people would say a bit of wax or a bit of gel stain, whatever would be enough. Unfortunately not for me, and I can't do white. For those who know me, I do quite a bit of weathered and chippy and grungy looks, and this is what we are going to continue today. As I said, I've started this. I've already applied a few layers. Let me just see if I can just turn this slightly. I've already applied a few layers here, and a lot of people ask me, how do you age your transfers? Well, I usually put my layers, and at one point I put the transfer. I never put it in the end. You always put it either in the beginning, but generally it's in midway that I am putting a transfer on, because then I'm going to work on it to make it kind of disappear in the piece or be really part of the piece, and especially for my aged look. I messed it up, and I have to work on it, because let me put you close. This is Bells and Whistles transfers. It's the Magnolia Garden transfer. Oh, it's the other way around. They all come with 4 sheets, and I've used, let me see, this one, which would look really nice maybe on a board or I don't know where, but here it's far too intricate and I'm very impatient. So I just popped this on and I just rubbed it on, and as there were so many, I didn't cut it. I should have cut it out. I messed it up, so it cracked, and for me it's not an issue cracking, because you know, my pieces are weathered and grungy, but you shouldn't do what I did, so be aware of that. So I'm going to sand it back a bit, and I'm going to use some paint to cover it, to make it part of the piece. But in the very beginning, I would like to start working on this side, and whilst this is more drying, we can do the work on the transfer. I've got a lot of paints up here. I'm not going to go through all these paints, because it would take far too long, and I don't even know if I'm going to use everything. Forgot to say that I most probably will put one of the flowers that are on this transfer also on this side, just to make the link and not be it all on its own. You see, like this sheet, I don't like how the edges are straight. I'm not going to leave this like this. I don't like that. I cut out this script here, and again, I don't know what I was thinking. Because that's on me. I don't like straight edges. For those who follow me and look at my pieces of... Anyway, so this straight line here is going to go. And my go-to thing for these kind of things is my kitchen spatula. I've got a lot of brushes down there. I'm going to show them to you when I'm going to start. Let's get started. I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to move. And I have done a mix of, what was it again, Gravel Road and Caviar to get a very, very dark grey. I like starting with a darker base and then go upwards. Now here, this was it's still very grungy. I still have to work on this piece here. And I toned the grunginess down, because even if I say it's too grungy, it must really be grungy. So I toned it down with the Spanish moss, and I think that really works very well. Lots of greens, the whites, the browns, there's even some blue and some terracotta, or maybe flamingo. This could be a flamingo from the Dixie Belle range. But first of all, I'm going to work on this side, and I am going to apply... I'm going to use my Scarlet brush. Love this brush. I'm going to dip it in. Doesn't need to be a lot. And I'm going to dip it in very little. Oh, I did a base of drop cloth and mixed with sea spray to give it a texture. For those, a light texture. Maybe I don't know if you are able to see it. I didn't do a lot. I just want my paint to catch in that rough texture that there is. And if you do layering the way I do and the way I like, I always thicken up the paint with sea spray, and so my paint can catch in it. So back to the painting, my scarlet brush, using a bit of paint. I dip it in a very, very little bit of water, and then I start using this. Very handy, the water mister. You can get, so I'm going to spritz it. Just be aware that your base coat with the sea spray is really, really dry. It has to be hard rock dry, so at least overnight. And then I take a kitchen towel. I mist this with water. I take a kitchen towel and I start dabbing off the paint. And already you've got some texture. You can leave as is, or you can say, okay, I prefer a bit heavier here, and don't use too much water. And with the kitchen towel, what's cool is it has this design on it, and you can already create the design in the paint with it. So there are many, many different ways. My colleagues have different ways of blending and layering. This is how I like doing it. And I will always have to give it just a hit with the heat gun. I'm sorry. I'm just misting it, and I could take a cloth as well and create more texture here, but I don't like that texture of the cloth. You can use a damp cloth, you can use baby whites, whatever you want. It looks really ugly, doesn't it? This artist brush now, I like using those, and I'm going to start putting a bit of pine cone. I like pine cone to give age. Pine cone, it's a beautiful brown, tan, and I like using that as well. And again, I'm putting on, and I'm going to dip my brush in the water, and then I'm going to layer it on here. I'm not going to put everywhere. I think I'm going to put a bit more up here. And as I said, it always looks really, really bad. When I want an old world finish, I paint over the hot way. I have to fix this, it's moving around. Going to take my scrubby, no, I'm going to take my Dixable brush, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to mix the two together. Still very, very ugly. And I'm going to spray it down. I use a lot of water. But as I said, if you put the sea spray on, then the paint will go into the structure. Maybe too much water here. Where is my? I'm going to put a bit more of of the pine cone. Okay. I'm going to have to and I'm going to start layering some greens. So I did a mix of collard greens and evergreen. I always use the empty jars. I have another mix which is kudzu, dried sage and a hint of evergreen, which gives a very nice green, which is absolutely one that is in here. And I'm going to start putting on some green. Here I'm going to use burlap and drop cloth and terracotta as well to make kind of the link with it all. And I like the mossy look in a way because it's about a garden, okay? At least this is my vision as a garden, and I like to have the greens in there. But then again, it can be too mossy. So you have to be careful how much you apply. But as I said, you can always paint over it again. Okay. So I'm going to do part of the piece. I'm not going to finish it up because I want to show you how I'm going to work on the transfer. Start with the burlap up here, so I can then use some. So this is burlap. Whoops. This is burlap. I love this color. It's a beautiful neutral color. And again, I'm going to put some on my brush. I'm using the chip brush now. And I'm going to dip it into the water. And I'm going to layer it up here. It's lighter than much lighter than the pine cone. And I need my kitchen towels. I need some more. A tiny bit of the gravel road with caviar mix and just go around the handle. That was it. Turning that around, going to paint it like this. Do that afterwards. I promise And now I want to tone this down. I still have to work up here for sure, but I want to tone this down, and for that I am going to use the Spanish moss. So what is it? It's a kind of a beige, a neutral with a bit of a green touch, and this is really going to tone down the whole piece here. I put this to the side. And I'm going to use my artist brush for this. Spanish moss on its own as well is absolutely gorgeous. I'm already toning it down. Your layers underneath have to be dry to do that, because you are again spraying and watering down the paint, and if it's not dry, then it's going to get all mixed up and it's going to just be muddy. Okay, as I've now covered everything, I'm trying to take a damp cloth now, and I'm trying to take out the harsh ends. I don't want all the color underneath to disappear over the Spanish moss layer, but I want to tone it down and unify it a little bit tight together, because sometimes this can be a bit too much. I need some more pine cone. I want this to be kind of a garden look. So this is why I chose those colors. Okay. Let me take some more and put in the corners. I know it's not an easy process to follow, as it is not a step 1, 2, 3. It's good morning. It's quite difficult for me to explain exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to apply some Spanish moss on the other side as well, so there's not too much difference. If you use a lot of water, you take off a lot of paint. If you use little water, obviously you are going to use little paint. A bit of more of the pine cone here around. And then with the wax, it's going to be all coming together. Okay, just have a look. And this is what it looks like at the moment. Hoppala. Let me see. So I've got more light here, so what I can do, I can put more drop cloth here. I can dab some drop cloth on. So there is the same thing, but as usual with this furniture, not everything is the same. Those pieces are very different, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to put some drop cloth. So drop cloth is a beautiful white, a beautiful off-white that I really like. I don't like the harsh whites, the crisp whites. And I'm using the flat round one, and you really don't need a lot. Let me show you. This is what I'm putting on, okay? And you're welcome, Deborah. And most probably I've already got too much on. And you see, just with that tiny bit, there is already a lot on it. And as now it looks very crisp white, I'm going to apply a tiny bit of my burlap. I'm going to tone this down. And I'm going to just very lightly mist it to take away the edges. And now I'm taking it close again and see how this turned out. You see, I can use a tiny bit as well of my gray. When I do these things, I always take a bit of paper and I just darken it up a little bit so it looks nearly like this. Okay, I still have to work on this here, and I'm going to, what am I going to use? I think I'm going to use my artist brush. Again, I'm going to use the dark color, and I'm going to go up. And spritz this. And dab it off. This really is just to create dimension and depth. And I still have to do some burlap up here. And let me do this again. Let me do some burlap. Where's my burlap? Here, burlap, this one. I know this is not everybody's taste, that's for sure. Not everybody's going to work like this. This is just me, and I love creating this. So my pieces, they're not done in 2 hours. It takes time. But that's fine with me because I love working like this. I don't do 10 pieces a week. I don't have a shop. I think we need some terracotta now to lighten this up. And then I'm going to start showing you on the transfer because time is flying. And let's see, is it all wet? I have to. No, sorry, this is terracotta. Whoops. This is how it looks like, and this is how my tints look like, or what my tints look like. And I should have taken the other one. Doesn't matter. Again, I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of water. Take a bit off on a kitchen towel, and as you can see here, can you see this? Apply a bit of terracotta to kind of lighten this up, soften the colors, give it some warmth. Continuing here as well. And this is far too heavy for me. And I'm going to take my kitchen towel again, and I'm going to start dabbing it off again. So in the end, in fact, there's just a hint of it. Now you can see here, the way I applied the paint is not the nicest. So once I've done this and I'm going to continue working, I'm going to get rid of that kind of roundish thing here, which I really don't like. Maybe, no, I don't have enough paint on it. And put some paint on there and get rid of that semicircle. And here there is quite light, so there is the drop cloth underneath. So I'm also going to apply some drop cloth on this side, as there is quite a bit of white going on the transfer, and I want to put another flower, so I have to have the white that pops. What I wanted to say is also that when you put sea spray as a base coat, then and then you start sanding, because this is what I would like to show you. Let me take away my paints. And you start because I don't like this. I really don't like these harsh colors, and I've already started a bit. So you can sand this away to age it. Okay. You know what? I've got this handy dandy little sander here. And it's easier to use. So what you have to be aware of is that if you've got layers on top of the sea spray and then you start sanding, then the color underneath is going to come through. And as the base color was white or drop cloth with the sand, with the sea spray, obviously this is the color that's coming through. So you just have to know this. You can use that texture if you apply different layers and you want different layers to come out again. You can do it with the sanding paper, or you can also do it with baby wipes. That's a possibility. Okay, so here I'm going to sand as well. This is where I messed up, and you can see the underneath, the transfer broke for me. You see, even when you do this a lot of times, these things happen. And it's fine, especially for people who start and they're always, you know, they say, oh my God, I can't do this. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because even we do mistakes. You just go over that again. Okay, so I have some white here. I've got some burlap here. I'm going to try and use my spatula. My beloved kitchen spatula from IKEA. And I'm going to just apply some paint here to hide, let me see that you can see, let me take you close, to kind of hide that harsh line. You can, of course, also use a paintbrush to do so. You can use the little round one, for example. Let me do this with the round brush. Again, very little, and you just dab on. It's even easier than with the spatula. There is quite a bit of grey here and green. I'm going to use the Spanish moss down here. I'm going to use, I don't like this. I really, really hate it. So I'm going to sand first. And those transfers really stick, as I can see. And now I'm going to take my spatula again. And I'm going to use, I hope I'm right. No, is this the Spanish moss? Yes, and I'm going to use some Spanish moss. And I just go over it. Not everywhere, but in some places. So it's as if it's just an old piece and it's coming through. And you know what? Didn't think about that. Have you ever tried the mix, vinegar and water mix? It's 50-50 vinegar, white vinegar, and 50 water. And when you spray this, let me take you close so you can see it. When you spray this, it separates the paint. And it separates it in such a way that it looks as though it's natural and not handmade. Okay, and I'm going to use a tiny bit of colored greens. Colored greens is a very dark green. And I am going to use my spatula again. Tiny bit, really a tiny bit. I'm going to go over this. As well. Where is my vinegar? That's a cool technique with the vinegar. So you can see now that you can't see the whole word anymore. And this is what I'm looking for. Colored green, where are you? You're up here. I'm going to use a bit more of the Spanish moss. And I'm going to go in here. And I am going to try and go with my kudzu and dried sage mix. I'm going to, let me take out a bit so you can see it. I can't get into it. I need something to take it out because I did this mix a while ago as well. This is the mix, the way it looks. And I am going to take my spatula again. And I'm going to take you a little bit back so you can see better. And I'm going to see where are those colors. Where's the color that matches best? And this is here. So I'm just going to go over this as well. I can use other colors, obviously, as well. And just know that with some wax, this will turn out just fine. There is, I'm going to use a bit of the pine cone as well. I really want this to look as though this transfer has lived a few lives, and to, let me know if you can see it. Again, there's a big splotch here, so I'm just going to use my vinegar, because I could use the water, but the vinegar really separates the paint. Doing the same up here. And I will continue doing this. What can I use? I can use some drop cloth now. This is the white, and I can use some drop cloth as well. And you say, gosh, she's messing up that beautiful transfer. Yes, unfortunately, this is what I do. But this is what I like. And I'm going to use some water here, not the vinegar, and see what comes out of it. I want some more colored greens. And again, I want to show you another technique. Let me get my other spatula. Where is it? Not the big one. I wanted the big one. wanted the big one, but it doesn't matter. I'm using this spatula as well. When you use this spatula, it's good to just mist your piece, the area that you want to use it. Just use this, and again, just go over it. So it's like kind of running down. Just be careful because it's a bit different to the other one. This. I don't know what I did here. So it's already looking different. Did you seal the transfer before painting on it? No, Lynn, I didn't. I never do. But that's because, as I said, you know, for those who really want to work with transfers, I think the best person to go to is Brandy, Brush by Brandy, because she does a lot of it. And my kind of, the way I work is a bit different. So I don't mind if there is, you know, if it's not perfect. This is what I'm going for, in fact. The non-perfect thing. Getting some driftwood out as well. It's a beautiful light grey. Going to use a bit of grey because there is some grey here. And I'm going to put this around as well. And this can also come down here. I'm getting grungy again. Look at me. Gosh. Let me use some vinegar. And you could leave the vinegar do its work. But we don't have time for that now. Using this again here. Okay. Take off the water. Take off the water in here. So, I am going to stop here. I would just like to show you what a transfer can look like when it's aged. As I said, you can go over it with some sanding paper. I like to work with paint over it. And for me, it's mostly the kitchen spatula that I use. So it doesn't look as neat as it looked before. And as I've done this now, and I can see that I have to go back down here because we can see the straight lines. I don't like that. The way I've done this now, I have to retake the hole up here and make it work with the transfer. But I'm quite happy like this. I think I really like what it looks like. Let me take you up. I use this sheet. This is a beautiful transfer, and I am going to use 1 or 2 or 3 flowers out of the other 3 sheets, and I'm going to put it on right on this side as well, and then work on it as well. You know me by now, at least most of you who popped on, that I like the weathered look, and I like the grungy look, and this is what it's going to be like. And then with some wax and you know, maybe some browning wax in the corners, maybe some Dixie dirt, this will be very different to what you see now, but I just wanted to show you how I work, my process, because it is a process, and I'm going to continue working on it. I already did the sides. The side, just one last time. This is the side. I do need to put some waxing on and, you know, do some shading, but I wanted the flower, the white flower, come into this. I used some burlap, I used some terracotta as well, and I still want to use some terracotta in the transfer as well, because there is terracotta here, and maybe do some dripping of the terracotta. I'll see. But a way to paint, that not a lot to do, and maybe there is an easier way, I don't know, but I love creating something. It's really getting that stuff on, and with every little detail adding to something. So